Good Monday morning, afternoon. My name is Nikki Mehrpoo, and welcome to the MedLegal Professors Masterclass. We've got a lot to cover, and a lot of what we're covering today will be based on a lot of what we've covered in the last few webinars. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and refer to that, especially the macro versus micro governance. But welcome, and let's get started. So what are we doing here, and why govern before you automate? Because AI, as we've already covered in several webinars, is not regular technology. And as a result, we have to govern it completely different than we're used to. Those of us who remember the internet coming into our world and our workflow, remember that there were rules and regulations about integrating in the internet into our workflows. But now this is completely different, and I want to make sure we're all on the same page and that you're understanding that we as professionals, any augmented decision, and just keeps telling that to yourself, am I making an augmented decision? Any augmented decision has to be governed. So let's get started. Who am I? I'm Nikki Mehrpoo. I left the bench and the practice of law about a year ago. I think my managing partner, when I called and said that I'm leaving to do more, was quite interested in how crazy I had gotten when I'm leaving the practice of law as a partner to do more. And that's what I've been doing for the last year, architecting governance, talking to innovators, and making sure that we all integrate, implement, deploy, adopt AI in the best way possible for our professional and regulated industries. Most governance is based on the concept of protecting the public and protecting data and privacy, and layered in a different way. And so what I want to make sure we all are on the same page about is that the protocol that I've architected for us as professionals has all of the stringent standards of the EU AI Act and HIPAA requirements and all of the must-haves right now, which are the most stringent. And then we've integrated the duty of care. The duty of care through the American Bar Association, the American Medical Association. And for most people, AI governance may not be part of their duty of care. For us as professionals and for us as regulated industries, duty of care is profound in not just the governance process, but in the decision-making process. Not decision-making as to what AI tools to use, and decision-making as to whether you're making an augmented decision and if you're properly documenting it. So when you may see lots of webinars out there, or you may see a lot of educational programs, the one key thing that I need you to remember, we're trying to use AI responsibly. We're trying to use AI in a way that we can meet our duty of care and our professional responsibility obligations, and also knowing the world we live in, that we are prepared for legal defensibility. And those of you who are like, what are we talking about? What's legal defensibility? Remember, we as professionals have to make sure that we're prepared for lawsuits, malpractice, boards, regulators. So it all comes in a package. And thus, governance is not optional. And I'm going to keep saying it because it's important. We need to govern before we automate. And unfortunately, right now, most of us are behind that curve because AI is already in our workflow, and now we need to catch up and govern. Every month, I make sure we cover AI malpractice and make sure that you understand that as licensed professionals or regulated industries, as part of our malpractice requirements, you need to make sure you check your coverage and make sure that AI-related claims are covered. You need to make sure that if you need to get additional coverage in some way, if AI is not covered, that you get that. You need to find out about your governance requirements through your malpractice insurance and possibly your specific association that governs you. And you need to clarify. You need to make sure that you've taken reasonable precautions. Now, governance is different for everyone, and that's something you need to embrace. And the most important part is, are we meeting our duties? Are we protecting those we serve and protecting ourselves, including those people we serve? So it goes hand in hand. And I want to make sure that we're all checking our malpractice insurances, calling our professional liability insurance companies, and making sure that we're moving forward properly with our coverage. I've created this slide just for the fact that there's a lot of questions that you need to ask the insurance company, but these are just the topics that you need to make sure you're addressing as to AI and how you need to understand the difference between the policies that you've had in the past and the policy you have now. I will be talking to you guys about how we can all together come up with the necessary checklists and governance standards, but we'll get there soon. So right now I want to make sure that you know that when you're talking to your insurance company, you're not just checking a checkbox. You're not just asking, am I covered? You actually need to find out what the requirements of your policy are exactly. So it's very important that you engage with your insurance company. Now, this is the most exciting part of this whole process right now. On August 18th of this year, just a few weeks ago, I launched the protocol that I've been architecting in my journey to do more. And it's been a whirlwind, and I'm going to take you on part of the journey with me, because since the 18th, I have been working with EU experts in Europe with my protocol. I have been working with innovators who want to adopt the protocol, and it's kind of scary because the protocol and the architecting of this governance system was all in my head for a long time. And now it's on paper, and now it's being adopted. And as a result of the protocol, and thanks to all of you, real leaders, I have to really thank you guys for that. There are real leaders who are taking governance seriously and actually emailing me or contacting me about things they need, inquiries they have, questions they have. And those questions, those needs are making it easier for me to understand how I can walk you through this process. So in order to do some hand-holding, my team and I have created the AI Governance 101 free portal. Everybody who's interested in learning about governance, especially Governance 101, and anything I talk about, the webinars, samples that I'm going to be uploading, are going to be our AI governance ecosystem of talking to each other, sharing information, and finding out how we deal with the AI Wild West. So please go to the governbeforeyouautomate.ai website, access the portal on the top right, and engage with us. Let us know what you need and how we can assist you. There's a lot happening, and I hope that we can work together in solving some of these AI issues, governance issues. When you go to the portal, it's very simple. you log in. You can log in with your Google account, or you can register with your own email. But I've tried to make it as simple as possible. There's a welcome page, AI Governance 101, and then we're going to walk you through the protocol and the philosophy of govern before you automate, and what the 3 E's in the EEE Protocol stand for, which is educate, empower, and elevate. And we've put little words next to each of those so that you understand. The educate is understanding the risks of AI use. We're not learning AI in educate. We're learning the risks and what we need to govern. You need to get empowered by the tools that come into your world that are AI tools, and how you can actually manage, monitor, and record what you need to record during the empower use of the tools. And then we need to elevate. We need to lead. The leaders who are responsible for maintaining records for regulators, boards, and just even malpractice insurance companies. We need to do all of that. So I'm introducing you to the protocol as part of the 3 E's so that you understand. And I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward for you to tell me what else you need, what's missing in your policy, or how we can work to solve a lot of these issues. I'm just going to quickly review last month's coverage. So for those of you who were not here with us, remember, we're talking about an entire governance system. We're not talking about just one tool in your system. You can have a tool, you can have an AI tool, but how it fits into your workflow, how it fits into your professional responsibility, that is different. So we need to make sure that the AI governance system has rules, oversight, and record keeping. And those are the 3 concepts that go into what we as our duty to make sure that we follow the rules, that we supervise, and that we have records to prove whatever we did. So you need to remember that it's not just a checkbox, it's not just a form, it's not just, we covered it, we've made an AI policy. No, for us as professionals, we need to make sure we actually have the 3 steps. The monitoring and the record keeping, of course, are as important as the rules themselves. So it goes hand in hand. And a lot of what I talk about and we'll talk about today is you'll need to know the difference between micro and macro governance, because macro is the concept of how did the institution, the office, the organization, the corporation establish governance and organize it for the entire structure, versus micro, which is the actual day-to-day workflow that we have to map and figure out how we need to document the information for, again, malpractice purposes, for our clients and patient safety. So there's different levels of governance, but you shouldn't start with the micro until you've done the macro. So I want to make sure that you are understanding you need to do the organization aspect of it before you move on. And why? Because why are we doing all of this? To protect our license, to make sure that the public trusts us in using AI, and that we're protecting those we serve, because not only are we obligated as professionals, but there are a lot of privacy and data requirements that we have to comply with to make sure that our patients and clients are safe. And most important, AI governance for us as people who have to meet requirements, whether it's on a state level, federal level, agency level, insurance level, we have to have a process that's called the life cycle, the governance life cycle, meaning from before we even bring AI into your world till retirement, we have to consider all aspects of it. So we've got a lot to cover today, and I just want to make sure that those of you who are joining us for the first time are able to kind of catch up a little. If not, please make sure you see the prior episodes. Now, I was in LA this past month and saw a lot of my peers and visited with a lot of my former colleagues, both in the legal world and the medical world, and asked them, what is it that you want to know from me? And the first thing I realized is that what I was saying was over everyone's head, because AI governance is so brand new. And what we're doing and what my team and I are planning are for things that are going to happen years from now. And we're just being proactive because we know what's coming and we know what we need to do. And as a result, we decided as a group of peers that I'm going to walk you through the issues that I'm seeing most often in my consultations and in my assessments, because I don't think a lot of people realize that there's AI in different aspects of their lives, and there's different types of governance, and we need to make sure that we actually comply with not just the checklist, but actual system. And I have to tell you, this past few weeks, the consultations I've had with some managing partners at law firms, hospitals, insurance companies, it's amazing how people understand the concept of AI as to what it does, but they're not aware how it's involved in their lives and that how it could be in a secret little place and that you still need to govern it. So the three problems I'm finding most often are hidden workflows. AI is hidden in workflows. And that means I'm going to talk to you through some of the things you may not know. We've seen a lot of faux governance, and that means that people feel good about putting a policy together and making people sign it, but not the three-step process. The rules are one component of it, but we need to make sure that once we do the rules, that are we having the oversight and the monitoring and continuing with the life cycle. So it's important. And even worse, no governance at all. People are using it with no oversight and no records, nothing, and it's in their system. So again, we don't have that luxury, because someone's going to come asking about how we're doing it and how we're doing it reasonably and how we're doing it responsibly. So please make sure that while we're addressing these three big problems that I keep finding, if you have any questions, send them my way and I'd be more than happy to answer them. Hidden problem finding number one, hidden AI. Now, when I say this is the question that I ask, I said, are you already utilizing AI? And when on the consultation form, they say no, I'm like, how's that possible? Because there are so many different day-to-day programs, search engines, everything that has AI integrated in it. And I want to make sure you understand, AI doesn't have to be an app you sign up for. AI doesn't have to be a separate, it doesn't make an announcement or come and tell you that it's there. It runs in the background, and that's why it's hidden. So just because you haven't signed up for an AI program doesn't mean you're not utilizing software that has AI in it, that makes suggestions, that ranks information. So you need to be careful. And you need to remember that we as professionals have to make sure that we do our due diligence. And this is the first step of due diligence. We need to actually investigate what AI we have, and not just what's obvious and out there, but hidden AI. So most professionals think AI is just ChatGPT, or it has some separate tool. And I'm going to keep saying it. That's wrong. Why? Here's a list of different programs that most of us use on a day-to-day basis that already have AI integrated in them, and that you need to govern and have on your list of your AI tools. And when I say that to people, they're like, what? Well, if you use your any of the AI capabilities in any of these different software, then, and you're giving legal advice, making medical diagnosis, whatever, you need to make sure that it's recorded, it's tracked, it's governed. And so again, don't say, I never signed up for AI, I don't have AI. Everybody has AI in some way in their lives. And I want to make sure that we address the hidden AI concept first, because it's there and we need to govern it. Now, although I've talked in the previous slide, I showed you the different programs. Anytime something auto completes, auto summarizes, auto searches, auto suggests replies, or auto corrects your work, your decision-making process, your research that you're going to be basing a decision on, you need to remember there could be hidden AI. And as such, it has to be properly governed, because if a decision is made for a patient, a client, a student, and as a result, we haven't properly governed it so that 5 years from now, you can prove that you met your duty of care and that you did what you needed to do to properly govern, so that your malpractice insurance doesn't say, no, you're not covered. It's important. And this is the key thing about hidden AI. Hidden AI changes the professional record, meaning what we had in the past where we would have our own little ecosystem on our computer is not there anymore, because the AI is there in the background and you need to be aware of it. And so as a result, you need to govern even the hidden AI. This was a question that I was asked during one of the consultations this week, and I'm like, okay, let me make sure I include this. When is governance not required? Well, if you're just doing spell check or formatting or internal drafts, governance is not required. Because if it's not augmenting a decision, if it's not affecting an outcome, if it's not affecting the patient client's services, then you need to make sure that it's not necessarily governed in regards to day-to-day workflow, but this is still governed as part of the macro level, because once a year we should check your spell check, and once a year you should check your any AI tool you use, because every AI tool in your world has to be inventoried and included in your audits, in your making sure that you actually have proof that you're aware of what AI is in your workflow. So again, macro versus micro, and we'll talk about it, but just remember macro is for the organization and micro is part of the workflow. If you take nothing else away from today, making sure that you don't say, I don't have AI in my workflow, and that you actually go look for it. And how do you actually, ignoring it is not going to help you. Okay, it's going to cause problems, and then you're going to say, oh my God, I needed to do something about it. So you need to find it. You need to go look for labels on in your software. You need to ask your vendors and your IT guys. You need to make sure that you're actually engaged with finding the AI tools that are hidden and making sure that you actually list them in your inventory of tools that you're using. So it's very, very, very important that you don't just say, I don't have AI. It's there. Please look for it. I'm going to remind you that everything that I'm talking about is based on the fact that we have professional standards, that we ourselves have rights and duties, and the people we serve have rights and duties, and that the leaders in our industries have to be the most educated, well-informed, and involved people, not only in learning AI, but learning how to govern AI, because they're going to be the people who are going to have the entire organization in their system, and they need to know whether they're meeting all of their compliance requirements, their HIPAA requirements, their Bar Association requirements. So all of that has to be involved in the governance standard. And there's no national system because remember, every state has different rules, different policies. Colorado, Texas, they just started. So you need to remember that we need to have a stringent, higher standard for professionals. This one was my favorite, faux governance. Governance is not just a checklist where you go and download the policy and start saying, okay, I'm governed. Well, I'm going to give you an example of something that was as part of discussion this past week, where the organization has established a policy about AI use, but that's it. Okay. So establishing policy without monitoring and documenting it doesn't help that you are governing for yourself. And I'm going to explain to you why. Because it has to have oversight. You have to have evidence, meaning you have to have reports. You have to show where the AI is in your workflow. You have to show that you actually monitor AI from the time it comes in to the time you retire it. And above all, who is the person in charge? Is the person in charge actually aware of all the risks, AI risks and AI requirements and regulations? Or are they just somebody? And for most of us, just so that we're clear, for most of us who are in a smaller office, we as the professionals are the person in charge. And we can't say, oh, someone else is in charge. You're going to be stuck with with all your duties. You are responsible with making sure that you're the person in charge. So again, governance is not just a checklist, and we want to make sure that you go through these steps one at a time and make sure you're looking to see you have the policy, the rules, but the monitoring and the leadership. Now, from policy to practice. Now, this is the perfect example of what I can tell you. So during a consultation this past week, someone said to me, well, we have the policies. And I said, what are the policies? Well, no one's allowed to use AI. Well, that's kind of you sticking your head in the sand and saying that I'm going to just say it's not in our world and we don't have to worry about it. You can't do that. Why? Because what we just talked about, there's hidden AI in all aspects of your workflow. So the policies are great. You can have policies, but it has to be reasonable and it has to be considering two aspects, not just malpractice as to whether you're doing something wrong, but whether it's malpractice if you're actually not using AI tools. And that's a whole different topic that we're going to hopefully address soon. But think about it. If reasonable care involves the best research or the best guidance, and you're not utilizing the best system out there, then it could also be malpractice in that you're not using AI. So one way or another, you need to realize that you need to establish the policies and then the practice. And I'm going to give you the example from this week, which is the policy is, if it's necessary to use AI, you must get a partner in the medical practice, and the partner has to be present. And I said, okay, great. Then what? And then the person looked at me and said, what do you mean, then what? Well, what if the partner comes into the room, agrees to use ChatGPT, and you get some result? What is your policy about what you do with the outcome? What you do about an augmented decision? How do you document that? How do you record that? How are you able to show it to auditors in 3 years? How are you able to show it to bar associations? So it is not just putting a policy together and saying, we've done it. It's the actual oversight, the actual proof, the actual practice that comes into play. That's even more important when you're starting out. So please make sure you're not just doing the concept of, we've got a policy. Sorry about that. I just took myself off stage. Okay, these are the things that I want to make sure that you know. Faux governance. You created a policy and there's no implementation, there's no protection through action. You have this false sense of security, and 2 years from now, someone's inquiring about your AI use. Again, don't be the one that says, I don't have the evidence, I don't have the proof, I don't have the documents. You need to be able to be aware that you need to take care of that. So we've talked about hidden AI as part of the consultations, and we've talked about faux governance, but there's also that concept of no governance. A lot of offices are just using the software that the vendor provided, and they're not understanding where in the process are we making decisions, judgments that affect the people we serve. So governance is not just about following rules. It's making sure we protect not only our license, the people we serve, the organization, and then the overall concept of we can't allow AI to be without human intelligence and human monitoring, because again, it is dangerous technology that we need to govern, not for just the sake of our licenses and the people we serve, but for the sake of society and the ethical, responsible thing to do in AI use. So it's very important that we keep that in mind when we're going forward with the no governance issue. Remember, if you establish a policy, but there's no oversight, the only person you're hurting is yourself. The only person you're hurting is your organization. So you need to make sure that not only do you get the checkbox documents and you make everything that you need to do, from how to record it, how to keep a governance file, how to do all the steps necessary to do the macro governance in order to get into the micro governance. You have to make sure someone is responsible. And that in itself, in a folder, in a document, you need to say, Joe Schmo is the chief AI governance officer, or is our lead AI governance person. So that in itself is a requirement for us to show that you've actually started the governance process. So please make sure that you assign someone, and quickly, because they need to get started with a lot of what's happening. Now, if a court or regulator or board asks you, what AI did you use? Who reviewed it? What decision did the human make? You have to be able to document that. And if you don't, then you're defenseless with malpractice, you're defenseless with the boards, you're defenseless with regulators, and you could be even defenseless with your own employer. And again, very interesting situation. A hospital has said no AI use, and a doctor was found utilizing ChatGPT on his phone, and has issues and is being brought before the board in their hospital. That's important, because we need to keep in mind that whatever rule we set, we actually have to monitor it to see it's being followed. And it's not just saying we have rules. If you're not monitoring it, and you're not protecting the people we serve, then AI should not be in your ecosystem. So please, please, please make sure that we are practicing law or medicine or financial services, and we're making sure that our augmented decision, our decision that has been affected, impacted by the AI, still has to be our final decision. It can't be someone else's decision. We can't say the AI made the mistake. We can't say, oh, it wasn't my fault, the vendor's system didn't work. No, you are the professional who's responsible. So please make sure that even the tiniest thing that needs to be done on a patient, a client, a case, that has to be recorded. That has to be part of the file, just like everything else we've done. When I talk to attorneys or doctors, I say, We recorded everything else before AI. We had to make sure that we had a record. It doesn't change it. It just now adds an additional responsibility. So then the question is, why use AI? Because it's still amazing technology. Okay, I'm not an advocate of, I'm not here to scare you and say, don't bring it into your life. I'm Nikki Augmented, and I'm proud of it. Anyone who knows what type of work I've been doing in the last year, my team and I have been utilizing AI tools in every aspect of our business. And you need to know that there's amazing, amazing technology out there. And so be aware, it's not just for you to say, this is not my thing. It needs to be your thing. This is just a reminder, again, and I put this one in just for this. HIPAA requirements are absolute. And that means you as hospitals, doctors, subpoena services, HIPAA requirements have to be very carefully met, and how that data is uploaded, and does the person who you are servicing, have you disclosed AI use? So it's not just, again, governance of within your system. It's governance to protect all stakeholders in the system so that the system can actually run properly and legally and under the law. So please make sure that you check and double check and double check. Govern before you automate. Why am I going to keep saying this? Because this is maybe this will land with you a little better. People's lives are in our hands. People's financial lives, legal lives, medical decisions, they're in our hands. And as such, we can't just say, oh, we're going to bring in a new tool and not be ready to show that we've been educated about it, we're governing it, we are implementing it in our workflow. It has to be brought in, just like when the MRI machine came in, how that machine slowly was brought into our system and people were trained on, and we didn't just accept the results, we actually governed the mechanism of what an MRI is. So it's that same concept. We need any tool we're bringing in, we need to realize that people's lives rely on it. Ours too, our own lives. Because remember, it's that concept of we need to be able to sleep. We need to be able to not worry about it. We need to not worry about sanctions or boards fees or things like that. So you need to make sure. And every week I check the news, and these are just a few of the items of consequences that you can see that AI is bringing into your world. And for those of you who are not aware, there was a really sad story about a teenager committing suicide by engaging and basically conversing with ChatGPT. It is not just governance on a professional level. It's not governance on everybody, parents, teachers, employers. Everybody has to govern, because it can affect not just your bottom line, but those you serve. So please make sure that if it's in your workflow, it's somehow governed. And I had this discussion this past week saying, parents, remember when the internet came out, how strict we were about what children can and can't do? No child should be freely in front of a ChatGPT or in front of an AI tool without some kind of monitoring by the parents. It's that same concept of safe, responsible AI use. If you're going to be using it, it has to be monitored. That was my making sure the parents know about that. Okay, governance. Now, I've created this portal. My team and I have created this Governance 101 portal, because we want to make sure you understand that it's not just one thing you're doing. You have to map the tools, you have to map the workflow, you have to get all the data, make sure the data is not only disclosed to the patient or the client about the AI use, but signed off, what steps you need to take. And you have to go step by step. But human judgment must always lead. And those of you who have been around for the past few months know that AI+HI is our philosophy and our commitment, meaning that we will not use AI without human intelligence in charge. And that is important, because if we don't, then again, that judgment, our augmented judgment, can be a decision that affects a person, their lives, their finances, their legal services. So you need to be careful that it's not just one aspect of it. You have to basically map the whole governance process. You must absolutely govern these items. If a judgment, a licensed judgment or professional decision is in play as a part of AI, it must be governed. If AI is helping you create something that is being sent to a client or a patient, it must be governed. If you have someone's money, someone's legal rights, someone's health in your hands, it must be governed. If a regulatory agency or a board or a bar association is going to come and ask you for records, then you need to govern it. So it's not just saying, oh, everyone knows how to use it. This is about saying, I have to monitor that people actually use it properly, and that I'm able to show that I have done my due diligence as a professional to meet a reasonable standard of governance. So again, remember, our duties don't change. We need to make sure we're engaged and we're involved. I guess I covered it a little, but if AI is in your workflow, human oversight belongs there. And it's not just a concept, a philosophy. Really, AI cannot be left without human control. Please keep that in mind. Again, I'm an AI champion, but I'm also an AI+HI champion, meaning that I love using AI. AI is a great tool that's been brought into my world, but it's not just to be used freely without any guidance. Last month, we put out a call to have founding allies who are joining me with this concept of pursuing AI with HI. And it was in August because in honor of my father's birthday. And I'm doing all of this because I'm my father's daughter. He was a civil engineer who built bridges and constructed buildings and amazing things. And as such, last month, anyone who was joining us as an AI+HI ally is going to be a founding ally. We're still asking for allies, but you're not a founding ally. You'll be a AI+HI ally. And all these companies and different people have joined. Hold on, we've got one more screen. And there's more. And I'm sorry if I've left anyone off. If I've left anyone off, please, please, please contact me and we'll make sure you're included in our founding allies. And we continue to serve those around us. Everything I've talked about is now part of the EEAI Governance Leadership Academy. And I've put together a 6-week course for CEOs, executives, managers, anyone who's going to be actually implementing AI governance. And this first cohort, this first group or graduates get a lot of benefits and bonuses, because I'm going to be working with you one-on-one in doing this 6-week AI Governance Academy. And we're going to be doing toolkits and a lot of different actual practical usage of governance. And above all, you're going to be invited to be on an advisory board with me so that we can lead AI governance, not as just one, because it's a heavy load and I don't want it to be just me, I want it to be that we as industry leaders actually look to see how we can move this journey of governance forward so that we can responsibly and ethically use AI. Those of you who are new to the EE AI governance framework, remember there's a life cycle based on those 3 E's: educate, empower, elevate. There's the pre-use, the use, and the post-use. That's basically what those 3 E's stand for. The most important part that you need to remember is that you need to be educated about AI, not as to how to use AI, but as to all the different risks and issues. For example, as part of the protocol, we have what's called the EAT test, EAT. And if you don't know what that means, it is explainability, auditability, and traceability. You need to know as a leader what those 3 things are. You need to know why you need to know it and how it affects the AI and your workflow. So there's a lot of different terminology and risks and issues that you're not aware of just because you're using AI. You actually have to learn about the risks of AI. And from there, you move on into the different parts of the life cycle. So again, the whole academy, the whole leadership academy, is based on pre-use, use, and post-use, so the whole life cycle. And we walk you through the entire governance setup. So I hope that you will join me. For those of you who asked me to put a little blurb together so that you know exactly what it is, you need to start with establishing the governance, then you need to implement the governance, and then you need to monitor the governance. So that it has to be done from the beginning when the AI tool comes into your world and until you retire the tool. So you have to continuously be aware of what you're, and it's any technology. This is not just AI. Any technology you're bringing into your world has to be governed as a professional. This is just a different type of technology, so make sure you're doing it. As part of the Leadership Academy and the Governance 101 portal, I'm going to be giving you and talking to you about a lot of different samples. And if your input is going to be crucial. What is it that you're missing? What is it that you need? How can we help you start on your governance journey? So the portal allows you to access me and the work I'm doing, because I've spent all this time architecting the protocol, and now I'm putting together the day-to-day macro and micro governance system. And I'm happy to say that we're actually talking to innovators who are adopting the EEE protocol and as their standard and as their mechanism of ethics, responsible AI. So it's you need to start figuring out how to start, but this is a timeline. So if this timeline may be too fast for some people because your organization is a lot larger, but for a smaller organization, this is a doable thing where you start with the assessment and walk yourself through step by step and get yourself ready and acclimated to what you need to do to govern. In both the Leadership Academy and the portal, we're going to be going through step by step how to assess, how to document, how to train. So each of these things is a component that we have to make sure is established and set up as part of the governance process. And without it, we will be lost. So you need to make sure that each of these steps is part of your initial governance process. Again, we're going to in detail go through about how to deal with vendors, how to deal with BAS, how do you deal with HIPAA, how to go electronic records, and then walk you through the implementation and the actual monitoring of every step of these. So if you can see by the slides on the screen, there's a lot to be done. And as someone who's trying to dumb down and explain this stuff to at a level that everyone is able to understand, not because it's because it's so convoluted and different. That's the reason we have to explain it in much greater detail. We're not used to what AI is. We're not used to what it's bringing into our world. So we need to be able to understand it and then govern it. So again, I'm going to remind you, why do we need to, not only do we need to govern because of the consequences, but remember, there's going to be bias issues, there's going to be privacy issues, there's going to be employment issues, lots of employment issues. There's going to be aspects of AI use, not just with our patients and our clients, but with our employees, with our people that are vendors. You need to make sure that you include all the stakeholders in your governance process. And remember, in this day and age, it's simple for someone to go online and badmouth you on social media, and boom, there's a loss of confidence, loss of public trust. And you don't want that. You want to be the one who's engaged and bringing this wonderful technology into your life safely and responsibly. As part of the Academy and the portal, we're going to be talking about how to build an electronic folder, how to establish checkpoints, actually knowing, is a doctor able to say, no, I don't agree with this outcome and reject the AI suggestion? Is a doctor able to document when they disagreed and how they disagreed, and that their decision is their decision? Because remember, the AI can help, but the decisions are still made by us, the professional. So you need to make sure you're able to show, I'm using this great tool, I'm doing this great research, but I know how to check to make sure there's no hallucinations. I need to make sure that all of the data is verified. I need to make sure that the case law or the medical issue is the most up-to-date and most current. So those are things you still do. Just because AI is in your life, it doesn't go away where we still have to check our work before we give it to a court, to a patient, or do anything else with it. So please, again, you need to start putting yourself in the mindset that there's some to-dos for you to do, and including recording everything. Training your team. Again, there's a difference between training your team as to how to use AI versus what risks they need to be aware of. So there's a governance component of AI learning, and then there is an actual technological component. Remember, you're going to need to teach both. You can't let your workforce not be educated about how to utilize the software you're bringing into your world. So as such, you need to train them both on the software or the vendor or the AI, and also tell them what the issues are. And this is, remember, and I'm going to keep reminding you, this is not just about us as the professionals. Anyone who works under our umbrella, or any of us who work under a greater organization umbrella, these are things that must be done across the board by everyone. So it's not just one person you're managing, it's every step of the way. This is very important to me, the governance portal, because this is where we're gonna kind of learn together and figure out how to really go forward with this governance concept. I'm doing the best I can to, as quickly as possible, put information together and get information out there for you to actually utilize in your system. My team has spent a lot of time putting this together, and I hope that you can participate with us and engage in the process. I want to thank our growth partner, ScanSnap, for the scanners that they have provided to the TMP community, by the way, the MedLegal professor community, and the ScanSnap winners for June, July, and August. Congratulations. Please contact us at hello@medlegalprofessor.ai, and we will make sure that you get your scanner sent to you. And once again, thank you to our partners ScanSnap and Rico. This journey started off with a group of people who have been behind me, and actually true partnership and sponsorship. And I want to thank Afingo, Swiftivity, MedEd Cloud, WorkComp College, ScanSnap, and workerscompensation.com, all of which I am providing ethical guidance. And also MedEd Cloud is integrating a lot of my system into their educational classes, in the courses. So it's wonderful. Again, if you want to partner, you want to talk about collaboration, you want to move the industry forward, I invite you to come and meet with me. It's simple. I send you a link. We set up an appointment, and we authentically, genuinely engage with each other to see how we can make the system better. And then you help me do more, because I left the practice of law to do more, and I'm hoping that you're going to come on this journey with me. This is very important. Again, thanks to workcompcollege.com. I don't know if you know, I have the SHRM credentials in AI+HI, and I've also been credentialed through their program for workers' compensation mastery. And I want to thank them for providing a special discount for TMP users. So if you want to register for any of the classes at workcompcollege.com, please, again, contact us, and we'd be able to provide you a special code. And that's important for us to continue educating in every way. By the way, these classes not only take into consideration the AI aspect of using AI, but actual ethical and responsible use of AI. So it's important that we always integrate that. Another one of our innovation partners is Effingo. Again, thank you for Effingo for really being integrated in the workflows, in that they deduplicate records. And I thank them for providing a special offer for TMP users, and that you get to use document deduplication for up to 5,000 pages for free. So again, contact us at hello@medlegalprofessor.ai, and we'd be more than happy to get that information to you. And last but not least, the monthly masterclass for the MedLegal Professor is the first Monday of every month, with, of course, the exception of today, because last week was Labor Day and we couldn't have it on a holiday. So today is our faux first Monday of the month. But I will see you next month in October, and I look forward to hearing from you as to what you want me to present and talk about and teach and engage with you as our community, because this is not going to be easy stuff. We need to work together. We need to kind of build a team and go forth to make sure that we are protecting ourselves, our public, and the people overall, our society. I thank you, and I will see you next month. And thank you, thank you, thank you.